Hi, I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. And today I'm gonna answer the question, what is the difference between the old NX versus the new fully redesigned NX? But before I get into that, make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content as well as some other automotive stuff, and we'll get right into it. So this one here is a 2021 NX 300 in the F Sport Series 3 package. So the F Sport Series 3 package is the fully loaded for the 2021 model year, and the one I have on this side is a 2024 F Sport Series 2. And I'll kind of get into the differences of the packages, but mainly we'll do a quick overview. So looking at the front end, on the F Sport Series 3 in 2021, you got a triple beam LED headlight with the daytime running light, lower, more integrated into the bumper. The rest, we have some smoked out chrome around the grille. I really like the smoked out grille, chrome, but it is a little bit hard to clean. It does show water droplets, so you do have to keep on it so that doesn't sort of stick out when you're looking at it. And at the very bottom, we have this gorgeous silver painted lip, and it's kind of like a matte finish, so it should be a little bit more durable for, you know, water, dust, stone chips, stuff like that. And then we have this little decoration here. It doesn't seem to be actually an active vent in any sort, but it does hide the parking sensor quite well, so it doesn't stick out too far there, which is something I think Lexus has done a pretty good job in later years, is hiding those sensors so that you can't see them from a mile away. I mean, if you're looking for them, they're definitely there, but it does help to kind of tuck them into something like that. And then we have some lighting at the very end of the bumper here. And also too, I did notice that this little angle here is quite nice, and it kind of has like a front diffuser right beside it, but that just adds a little bit extra sporty. I think if they shaved that off, the front end wouldn't look nearly as aggressive. And then just that normal F Sport spindle grille, absolutely gorgeous. It's nice, it's big, it captures your eye, and then the Lexus emblem is right in the center of that. Also, I will point out the hood. So the hood lines on the previous generation sort of is just on an angle. It kind of just opens up in kind of the shape of a triangle there. So we have a line at the edge here and then a line sort of going into the center, and that lines up perfectly with the top of that grille, and then it's just flat throughout. Over to the new one. So a little bit different styling, but similar in a lot of ways too. The first thing you'll notice is the nose of it comes out further. Instead of being nice and the grille buttoned up to the hood, it does have a little bit of a panel here, and then that grille is like a straight down grille. We're seeing that a lot in the lineup, same with the RX 350 and 500 right now as well. And then the headlights, so this is an F Sport Series 2, it just has the single beam LED headlight. If you were to go up a package, you would get the triple. Now on the previous generation, you would get that triple at a lower package. I think it was F Sport Series 2, maybe even F Sport Series 1, probably 2, where now you have to go all the way up. Sometimes for the first couple model years of a redesign, they'll do that and then change it later on. So we have that, and then the daytime running light is integrated in there. So it's not separated, it's not sort of like into the bumper, it is into that headlight lens. It seems to be a more frosted glass, and it does look a little bit sharper and a little bit brighter, and I think that's because it's so close to the headlight. And the signals and stuff like that are all part of that as well. In terms of the venting here, so it does seem to be active. There actually is airflow going into there, and there is more of a lip around that vent as well, probably to hopefully actually capture the air. That's probably what it's doing there. And then the lip at the bottom still does come out quite a bit, and I would say that's the most similar to the previous generation, is the fact that the lip is the same color, it sticks out, it's generally the same shape, but you'll notice around the grille surround, it's not the smoked out chrome anymore. It's just fully blacked out. So I do like that. I think it's easier to maintain and looking nice. And also having those types of accents blacked out, I think it's always been in style and won't go out of style. So I really like that as well. And then at the bottom, we do have a little bit different diffuser here. It's at the top instead of underneath that lip. And then that's pretty much it as far as the bumper is concerned. The hood has a different shape to it. So instead of having an angular line that is just kind of like a triangle, the hood line actually wraps around. So there is, instead of just being a straight body line, it has some curvature towards the front, and it gives, that combined with the new grille and that little nose, gives it a bigger, sort of a bigger face to it. And a lot of times people think that, oh my God, the new NX got so much bigger. It did get a little bit bigger, but because of those types of body lines, it looks bigger, it looks taller, it looks wider. So that's definitely contributing to that. The fact that it just kind of curvatures around there. And then there is a nice little swoop here as well. So it stays big at the top center and then kind of lowers into the headlight after that. And combined, again, just makes that front end look a little bit bigger. And you can probably see that right on camera here when you're looking at them sort of parked beside each other. Okay, the side profile of the 2021 NX 300. A few things to point out here. One of them that you'll notice right away is the chrome. So even though it's an F Sport, it does have chrome sort of wrapped around both of the windows and pillars, and it's sort of ties in with that silver roof rack as well. So it's not the only silver on the side of the car, but it still kind of sticks out a little bit, I would say. The wheels themselves are, I think these ones are 18-inch. They're 18-inch, and it's like a hyper silver, I guess you could say. So it's not super dark. It does have a little bit of lightness to it. And then there is some chrome on the mirror here as well. So those are the three sort of bright accents. In terms of body lines, we have this seam that goes sort of from the front to the back, and it's above the handles. And on that C-pillar, they sort of connect. It sort of kind of goes back into that one triangle shaped. We have some matte black fender flares. So these here above the tires, again, probably just to protect it a little bit, and a tiny bit at the bottom, not a ton, but there is a little bit of that matte black at the bottom. The handles themselves are the same ones that we've seen in, the RX since like 2016. There is a seam that lights up when you approach them at nighttime. It's kind of a tried and true design, and they work well as well. Also, I should mention there is a signal light at the end of the mirror also. And then the F Sport logo, obviously on the fender, tells us that it's the F Sport. Over to the 2024. So at first glance, if you just saw the 2024 by itself, you might think that it has a lot of the same silhouette, but it is quite different. So now, instead of being a full bright chrome, it is a smoked chrome. And it's not the fully blacked out chrome from the front, it is a separate chrome. So smoked out chrome there. Oddly enough, it's regular chrome on the mirror. And I don't know if that was an oversight or on purpose, I'm not too sure, but the chrome on the mirror is not smoked out, it is regular. Body lines, we see that same seam, but instead of being above the handle, it actually is right in the center of the handle, and then it kind of swoops up in a triangle form to that C-pillar as well, and then there's a new line that sort of continues just above the handle there. A little bit more plastic at the bottom, so the matte black plastic does seem to be a bit bigger on this one. There's a little bit more of a shelf there. Again, that could be to protect a little bit, and it's actually blacked out, or sorry, not blacked out, but it is painted body color fender flares. And actually, I noticed there's a little bit more to that as well. The wheels are bigger, and instead of being a lug nut design, they're like a lug bolt design. These ones here are 20-inch. These ones are 20-inch, and they are painted black. So again, they're not body color, they're not metallic, it's like a gloss black. So that works out pretty well. The door handles are the new design. So 2023 and up has the electronic door handles. I've said that in a lot of my videos that I love these. I would say the look of the old ones are better, but the function of the new ones are my favorite. I think they're so much easier to get in and out of the vehicle, especially out. So I am definitely a big fan of that. Also, they kept the same F Sport logo. So it's not the new one that we've seen on like the 500 or some of the other, the ES 350 F Sports. It is the exact same as that old one. And sort of the final thing on the side profile here would just be the roof racks. They're black, they're gloss black, so they're not that silver anymore. So overall, there is less silver, there's less, of a contrast between the accents. It does sort of all blend together and give you a little bit more of that stealth look, especially in the caviar black, which is what we have here. Now, over to the previous generation, NX 300. So looking at the rear, obviously we have the Lexus emblem. We have, a different taillight design where it's just that L shape sort of. Fun fact about that L shape, and this was a guest of mine told me this back in like 2017 or something like that, is the way they've designed it is that even in the seam between the hatch and the fender, there is still light. So if someone's sitting behind you in traffic and your taillights are on, or it's nighttime or whatever, you can still see light. There's no gap in the light, which is a really cool detail that not many people would notice, and I didn't notice until someone pointed it out. We have a decent amount of matte black sort of textured material there, a little bit of a shelf, and that's why there is a big protector here with some chrome on it between the hatch and that bottom bumper. And we have integrated exhaust ports. So that was all the rage, just a couple years ago, to have, true exhaust, like flush mounted ports in your bumper. And as you noticed with the new one, it's kind of not the case anymore. So that's definitely something to point out. The wiper's the same on both, right at the bottom, sort of mounted in the middle. And then in the trunk itself, nothing really different, as I mentioned. Maybe the new one has a little bit more space, but it's gonna be very close. Decent size to kind of get stuff in and out of. There is no basket to the left, I noticed. And also, I don't know if there's also no hooks for groceries or anything like that on the old model. But again, those are all very minuscule details that most people aren't probably gonna actually care about. Okay, so at the rear of the vehicle, we're gonna start with the 2024 NX 350. So a few things to note here. The most obvious is the newer style of Lexus emblem, which is the LEXUS, perfectly spaced out and just looks like a modern, very classy way instead of the old emblem. Also, the taillights are different. So we have sort of this separate Lexus signature sort of design here, and then I call it the samurai sword. The samurai sword above the Lexus emblem and above those two taillights. In terms of the actual shape of the rear, I would say the new one is a bit more rounded and again looks wider. And what I mean by that is like the panel here sort of wrapping around to that quarter panel more looks like a wide body kit, I guess you could say, or as close to that as you can get on sort of a family SUV. And also too, we have this fake but nice little vent decoration there as well. And then that same silver sort of rear spoiler diffuser as we saw in the front. You will notice, however, with the NX and with a lot of vehicles coming out, is you no longer see the exhaust. I mean, if you look low enough, you'll be able to see it, like if you crawl under it, but there isn't really like a spot for them integrated into the bumper. And like I mentioned in my other videos, a big reason for that is future-proofing. In a world of EVs and hybrids and plug-ins, there's not gonna be a lot of exhaust showing. So in order to future-proof, to kind of blend into future traffic and future, automotive design, Lexus has already started to hide those without telling anybody, by the way. They just started to do that and they didn't put that in a brochure or anything. It just started happening, which is pretty cool. Also, I noticed when the trunk is closed, the hatch is closed, there isn't much of a lip here anymore. There is this little kind of protector for the top of the bumper, but on the other vehicles, there was more of a lip there, and they've sort of flushed that out, which I think is great. The trunk opens smoother, quieter, quicker than previous models. And in terms of space-wise, both vehicles are gonna be the same. We have a little basket sort of thing to the left and a few spots to the right to hook, groceries and stuff like that. But all in all, the trunk space hasn't changed much between the 2 years, for sure. Okay, so now sitting in the 2021 interior, I don't need these anymore, obviously. And I'll try not to ramble too much because when it comes to interiors, I always talk too much. So I'll try to just keep it basic. The biggest difference between the two is going to be the multimedia system. This one has the Lexus Remote Touch interface, so it is the little mouse pad in the center that I actually really like. Instead of just going with a touchscreen, it is the mouse. And because that screen is a little bit further away, it's a little more integrated into the dashboard, I would say. And there is still lots of buttons here. So we have the drive mode sort of mounted right in the center, right beside the shifter. We have a CD player and a tiny little shelf above the CD player, which I never knew what it was for. Maybe it's for, I don't know, a pen or something like that. Above that, we have our heated and cooled seats and all the climate controls sort of in the center there with the Lexus clock right above it, which I always liked. And pretty much that's it for the center. We do have the little makeup mirror, or I would call it my hair mirror because I would check my hair with it, which I always thought was cool. And underneath that is sort of a little storage again for change and stuff like that. And then there's sort of just like a little wrist rest for being able to use the remote touch interface. The seats themselves, these are sports seats. They do hug you a lot in this NX, I find. I would say the seats are definitely a little bit smaller. They're a little bit tighter. Some people love that. For my body size, it's really great. It's kind of like being, you know, stationary exactly where I want to be and not having to, like, you know, settle into the seat at all. It's already telling me where I need to go. Steering wheel, we have some perforated leather around the sides, and you know, the actual steering wheel controls are definitely older. So we have volume up, volume down, you know, track up, track down, and then a little bit of controls on the little TFT display here, which is color. There is, you know, a speed reading, a digital speed reading there, but it all does look a little bit old at this point. And then we have, you know, our cruise control radar, our lane departure alert, all that stuff kind of where your thumbs go as well. Other than that, we have, you know, a little bit of aluminum trim around the cabin. Everything does feel a little more compact, a little more like a car, I would say. And, you know, there is also some buttons to the left here for things like this one has the bird's eye view or to lock the differential, etc., etc. Pretty much that's all I wanted to go over on this one, and we'll go check out the newer one. Okay, so sitting in the 2024, there's a lot more to go on here. So first thing you're gonna notice is the massive screen. It's a lot closer to you. It's more like a tablet. It is that sort of glass like a smartphone, which is great. And it is just a quick, very, you know, modern system. In fact, we used to say that the old system, we were kind of behind the competition, and all we wanted to do was be up there with the competition, and now we're actually a little bit in front, which is really great to see. So I love that new system. I do miss having the option of the remote touch, because then I don't actually have to put fingerprints on the screen, but I find once you set it up, you're not really touching the screen a whole lot anyway. Just sort of like using your voice or the steering wheel controls, etc. So that's great. We have some piano black here in the center. The new shifter, which is right out of like a Lexus LC, for instance, and a whole lot less buttons going on here. I've always said that new modern luxury cars is more about simplicity than decorating the dash and a whole bunch of buttons. And they did a good job there. The drive mode switch is sort of like hidden in the trim here, so it's not, you know, super obvious. And there's a few more drive mode buttons here as well. We have a wireless charger, which works absolutely great. So just put your phone in there. And you can even stash your phone away if you wanted to. And there is a little bit of storage underneath as well. And we have the new USB-C as well as the previous USB. So there is options for both, which is great. The armrest opens from both sides. So we've seen that trickling down. Again, that started with the Lexus LS and then, you know, went into the ES and the UX, and now pretty much the whole lineup has that, which is great. And then the overall fit and finish. I'm very happy to say that, you know, I just like when automotive brands don't go backwards in terms of quality or try to cheapen things up. They go forward. So even the way the steering wheel feels, the perforation is grippier. It seems to have more substance to it. The details, even in the F-Sport logo, and sort of even the spots that you don't touch, are all very, very nice. And this one is the F-Sport Series 2 package, so it's not even the fully loaded, and we already have a heads-up display. And because of the heads-up display, we have the new sort of smart touch, customizable steering wheel controls. And then even the cruise control is just one button now instead of the switch where you have to go up and down and then click radar, all that stuff. It's very simplistic and super, super easy. So again, we've condensed a lot of those buttons into the actual smart interface, and the gauge cluster itself is a night and day difference from that last model. So now we just have sort of everything right in the center with, you know, fuel and temperature and stuff like that on the sides. It's all customizable. It's a very high def TFT display with lots of information that you can see there. And it feels way higher end than that previous one. However, if you like a true needle instead of a digital one, you would have to go with the old NX for sure. Surrounding that, we have just some piano black, nothing too crazy. I already mentioned the heads-up display. Not a ton of buttons to the left here. Some really nice new accents. So there's less chrome and silver on the interior of the new one and way more piano black and like grays. So this is kind of like an artsy looking gray trim here on the door panel. And then to get out is the new electronic door latch, which I love. The seats themselves do feel a little bit wider. I have had a lot of guests say that, especially for people who are bigger than me, the old seats felt too cramped, where these ones seem to sort of fit the build. And actually, as I'm sitting here, I realize the cabin itself feels bigger. I don't know if that's just the way they've designed the center and the dash, or if actually it is, but it feels bigger, it feels a lot less claustrophobic, which is really great. And for the first time in an NX, we have a panoramic sunroof. And you don't even have to go fully loaded to get it. Most of the middle packages get it. So this one's an F Sport Series 2, even the luxury package has it, and that's the middle on the other lineup. And it's really nice having that panoramic glass, especially for the rear passengers. And that's pretty much it. I could ramble on longer, but I'm not going to. Okay, so sitting in the back of the new 2024, not a whole lot has changed back here in terms of amenities. I think maybe the size just a little bit, but just to give you an overview, we have a few USB-Cs down at the bottom. We have a speaker sort of right here in the top of the door panel with that new trim. It is electronic door handles on the rear seats as well. So just because it's for passengers doesn't mean that they don't get that. Center armrest with some cup holders in it. And again, everything's kind of just trimmed in the piano black. The panoramic sunroof really is nice for the rear passengers. So it does create a little bit more light. It does seem to open up the cabin space a little bit. The NX isn't a huge vehicle, especially in the back seat. I mean, I fit, but it's not like it's known to be, you know, a family hauler as much as like the RX would be. And that panoramic really opens up the rear seat. So if you are claustrophobic or anybody in your family doesn't like sitting in the back seat, the panoramic roof I think will help that for sure. Okay, so in terms of differences between the two powertrains, the new one has 275 horsepower versus the old 235. But it feels even faster than that because now we have an 8-speed transmission versus the old 6-speed. And even just with that, the new torque, the bigger engine, I find the new one, even though it looks bigger and feels a bit bigger, it also feels more agile, and the power delivery seems to be a little bit more early and also has a bit better fuel economy. So even though most of the ones that are projected to sell are going to be in the hybrid variant, I think the turbocharged 2.4 350 is still going to be a big seller, just like the 300 was when the previous generation was new. So just to recap, the main differences are going to be a little bit of the styling, definitely the multimedia and the technology on the new one. However, the previous one does still have a little bit of those creature comforts and, you know, a little bit more of that analog display and, you know, buttons and stuff like that, a little bit less tech savvy. Both are great choices, obviously, but let me know in the comments below what you like more, the new NX 350 or the previous generation NX 300. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Lexus related content, or let us know in the comments below if there's anything other comparison wise or any other video content you'd like to see in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.